evening. I'd like to call this meeting of council to order and acknowledge that the city of Winkler is situated on Treaty 1 land, the home of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples in the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that have been made on these territories, acknowledge that there have been harms and mistakes in the past, but today we dedicate ourselves to a future based on respect of all peoples, including Indigenous communities, in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration, moving forward to a harmonious and prosperous future together. On that note, be it resolved that the agenda for the regular council meeting of March 12th, 2024 be adopted. Mover? Andrew? Marvin got it. Andrew got the second. We'll point out that Councillor Grenier is not able to join us this evening. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda as presented? All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting of February 27th, 2024 be adopted. Mover?
Don Fair.
Second?
Peter.
Any comments or questions on the minutes as presented? All in favor? And that is carried. Continuing into finance, be it resolved that the accounts payable in the amount of $968,865.43 as approved by the Finance Committee be approved for payment. Mover?
Andrew?
Second?
Don Friesen.
Check register, as always, is attached. Do we have any questions on what we see there? All in favor? Carried. Moving forward then, and a little bit of financial business that we need, be it resolved that the line of credit with Access Credit Union Limited be approved as outlined in the received proposal, and that proposal is attached. Mover?
Andrew?
Second?
Don Friesen.
Jody, this is regular business. This is just for operations of the city as needed. Is that correct?
Yep. You can see there, as per the proposal, it kind of outlines the purpose of capital expenditures to have available.
And I appreciate the work that goes in advance of that, as we have major capital projects this year, and to be fully prepared with anything that comes up. That's just good business, so I thank you for that. Any additional questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Moving then to our sponsorship business, therefore be it resolved that the City of Winkler adopt a sponsorship policy in order to create an authorized environment and citywide protocol for sponsorship, advertising, and naming rights that establishes the principles and conditions under which the city will pursue and accept sponsorship and advertising agreements. Mover?
Peter. Sorry, Peter.
Second?
Marvin.
Marvin. This specifically aligns with the thought that we want to do absolutely everything we can to mitigate tax increases, as we have an ever greater need of dollars in our community, whether that is for programming, whether that is to funding our asset management plan, whether that's for operations. Here is one way that we can give people an opportunity to support the city through marketing initiatives that would allow help their businesses and also generate revenue for the city. We have retained marketing, or a group that has helped put this together for us, the partnership group. They are experts in this world. I believe we've had a number of meetings, Jody, with them that has allowed us to craft this policy that we believe is going to be very good for the city of Winkler in the future, and hopefully will help us to generate a significant number of dollars over the next few years. Is there anything, Jody, that should be added to that as information?
No, I think that's a really good summary. We've worked at it for quite some time, and it's good to be at this place where we can present it to council.
Okay, thank you. Council, do we have any questions or comments on it? We've had the opportunity to review it. We've had the opportunity to feed into it as drafts were presented to us originally. I'm happy to see that we're at this place and we're able to move forward in a way that allows this to work fairly and equally and generate some money for the city. All in favor? Carried. Moving then to some really good financial news. Be it resolved that the 2023 surplus be transferred to reserves as follows. To our general fund reserve, $3,602,498.29, and to our utility fund reserve, $994,209.72. Mover.
Andrew?
Second.
Don Friesen?
Those are some very significant numbers, Jody. Maybe you've got a bit of background that you can share with us?
Sure. Yeah, when we look at a surplus like that, it might look a little unexpected. What we can say is that from an operational point of view, the surplus was much less than that. We were, I would say, closer than normal on operations. Of course, we still had a small surplus there. Primarily three areas. We had an unexpected amount of income from interest, which was 1.3 million. That's because of some delays on our major projects for which we've put funding aside but haven't started. That would be water treatment plant and wastewater.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 2.2 million that comes from a change that the province made in 2023. For quite a number of years, municipalities were frozen as to the funding we got per capita from the province, both for municipal operating and for our police service.
Right.
And in 2023, they decided to try to get us caught up on that funding. And so that was unexpected and not budgeted for, and that's what results in the surplus. On the utility side, I think what you see mostly there is the water sales increased from the previous year. And the reason that why sales were up in 2023 is that we had that drought year, the previous year, where we asked our residents to do a fair bit of water conservation, which they did. That resulted in lower water sales. So when in 2023 that kind of came back, and that resulted in some of the surplus.
Thank you, Jody. I think one of the key things that we want to remember, out of this, we as a city are not legally allowed to run a deficit. So when we do our budgeting, we're always careful to work towards a small surplus, that 3 to 5% range that allows the city to do business and be prepared for unexpected. That part is normal, and quite often we get maybe a little bit closer to 10%. This number is significant, but it's a very welcome number, because in 2016, our grants for policing and operating were frozen and didn't change for 7 years. During that time, we wanted to continue to operate our community, and we did. Unfortunately, though, we had to use from our own operating funds, from our own reserves to be able to do that. So now to see the province coming back with an intention to hopefully make us whole and keep us whole allows us to take these monies, put them back into reserve, and allow us to come closer to funding our asset management plan, and maybe making some opportunity to not have as significant an increase in the future, because it allows us to get closer to back where we needed to be. So very welcome news, terrific numbers, happy to see it. Comments from council?
Nope.
All in favor? And that is carried.
Did we have a mover and seconder on that?
We did. We had
Okay.
Brenda and Dawn.
Yes, got it.
And obviously you see your financial statements attached there as well. Did I ask the question, Jody?
You did.
Thank you. That would take us to our water and sewer report. Resolved that water and sewer report for February 2024 be received for information. Mover?
Marvin?
Second.
Peter.
Anything there that should be highlighted, gentlemen?
I just had a question on that one spike about the 20th of the month. It seemed
19th.
The 19th?
Yep.
Whatever, yeah. Wonder what. there was
Just
that.
so happens we have an expert here that can help you with that question.
That's why I asked it.
I have a similar question. Unexplained reason on why it increased our water use didn't really go up. Temperatures were below zero. So it may just be depending on production in some facilities and what was being held kind of in the system already. Could have been a release on that day. It also can be a delay in working from the outer edges of our system to our lift stations. So there's a number of days delay in our system, and so there isn't always an exact correlation between what our water use is and the amount of sewage pumped. With how dry our winter has been, and even we haven't seen a huge spike in our inflow or our pumped sewage at this point. And that's because we're not seeing a lot of inflow or infiltration into the wastewater system. Generally, all of the water is contained to the gutters and the ditches pretty well. Some situations that we're working on, obviously, making sure culverts are open, but the amount that it went up on the 19th, 20th there, I don't have a lot of extra information, other than that's what our pumps recorded. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those comments from Scott Taves, Director of Planning and Engineering for the City of Winkler. Not seeing further comments or questions. All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the Pembina Valley Water Cooperative Board and AGM minutes for the February 23rd, 2024 meeting be received for information. Mover?
Marvin?
Second.
Don Fair?
Don Fair, they're attached. Marvin, is there anything you'd like to highlight out of those minutes?
I think it's, we have a new executive director that is working very hard to figure out how we can move forward with on a good path. All the treatment plants are working at full capacity, and we're working at getting more production power going and so on. So it's going to be has been a continual challenge to get enough funding to do it, and it'll continue to be, I think. But I think we're moving ahead well with the direction, or with the administration that we have.
And I think too, I had the opportunity to attend the meeting, and was good to see the 14 member municipalities all on side, all supportive of the fact that we need an ability to have enough water for this region as the region continues to grow, and a recognition of the fact that we're going to need to all together lobby the province to fulfill their support of it, and we ourselves are going to need to be at the table as we continue to look at that and see what it is. But I appreciated the opportunity to attend.
No, it was very good to have so many people there for the AGM.
Further comments? All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the Winkler District Healthcare Board minutes for January 22nd, 2024 meeting be received for information. Mover?
Marvin?
Second.
Don Friesen?
Comments or thoughts on those minutes?
Well, as you see the minutes in there, I guess we're working on and making sure that we have, work on getting enough physicians and medical staff. We're trying to work together with the province on this. I think they realize the need to do that as the new building is progressing. They'll need a lot of new medical staff in here, so that's one of our major efforts as we work on that. We're also working on, after the purchase of the building, on ideas of how to maybe update it a little bit and so on. So there'll be a fundraising effort coming down the line shortly for that part.
Okay. Thank you, Marvin.
Yeah.
Questions or comments?
Just concerns.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the general enforcement bylaw number 2315-24 be read a second time. Mover?
Don Fair.
Second?
Peter.
Jody, anything here that we need to be particularly aware of?
Well, if I would just highlight overall, and this maybe comes a
You
little
bet.
bit from our executive summary, that this is a bylaw that sets out all of the authority and procedures for how we're going to enforce all of our other bylaws. It's not that we didn't have avenues and remedies before, but this much morely clears out and gives us a little more ability on how we can remedy some of the issues that come up from our bylaws. It sets out the appointment and powers of the designated officers. It sets out procedures for, if we have to do inspections of properties. It has how we issue notices of contraventions, how people can appeal those things. So it's quite comprehensive, and I think in some ways modernizes our ability to enforce our bylaws.
Thank you for that, Jody. Questions or comments from council?
Well, if I may, I am hoping and I believe that this should make things less stressful for people working on when problems like this come up, because we have good, clear set guidelines which can be outlined ahead of time and so on and so. So it should be easier. It's never easy, I think, dealing with infractions, but
That's true.
should make it a little less stressful, hopefully, on the people working.
Or more straightforward at minimum?
That's right.
Yeah. And give clarity to the residents as well.
Mhm.
Not seeing anything further, all in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the general enforcement bylaw number 2315-24 be read a third and final time. Mover?
Peter.
Second.
Don Friesen.
Final comments? All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the Winkler Stanley Economic Development meeting minutes for the February 20th, 2024 meeting be received for information. Mover?
Don Fair.
Second.
Marvin?
Minutes are attached. Any questions or comments?
Do they have answers to some of these questions in here, or just future
Well,
discussions?
I think there was answers, like, to summarize some of the, like you're referring under the strategic planning?
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially where that is Winkler and Stanley, both, myself and the CAO for Stanley went back to our councils to verify the direction that was set in strategic planning in Q2 of last year. And both councils affirmed the previous strategic direction. And so we just held a discussion around that to continue to pursue those directions that were set out. I think it was May of 2023
Correct.
when we did that strategic planning.
And I think it's a particularly and a fairly new organization that's just trying to figure out exactly what it looks like. Quite
Yeah.
often on a strategic plan, we wouldn't be coming back with questions this quickly, but it's a regional partnership between the two municipalities. And we have a group of people that are doing the best that they can. And through that, they arrived at a place that they wanted some additional clarification. Is this in fact still correct?
Yeah, and part of it probably is that, like, in that first year, because of the direction to pursue the immigration pilot program, a lot of the energies were spent on that program, and in some ways still are. So we have some ability staff-wise to pursue the other things like regional branding and the education part. But there will still be a fair bit of energies allocated to immigration.
But, sorry,
No, go ahead.
the other question here though was retaining people here, right? Instead of,
Yeah, that's on the education side, is what can we do there to help retain the people in our community? And And that's just, I would say, very lightly stepping our toes in the water on that. It's a huge topic. We want to obviously have good partnership with our school division
Right.
and other stakeholders. So we're just trying to facilitate some initial conversations.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Jody.
Thanks, Jody. Yep.
Yep.
All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the Winkler Golf Club meeting minutes for the February 28th, 24 meeting be received for information. Mover.
Andrew?
Second.
Freezer?
Andrew, anything that we should note particularly out of that?
No, we ended up in the black in the year-end financial statement there and had our AGM on the 7th. Things are looking well. We got our staff back for the coming season and looking forward to another good year at the golf course.
Absolutely. Staff.
We can't achieve all of our capital desires, but yeah.
I will say, staff back and ending in the black, that sounds pretty good already. Well done. Any questions, comments?
Well, I'm glad you made the comment about both of the areas of staff back. That shows me that there's a good rapport and a good working relationship and a good atmosphere. So that's awesome to see.
Yep, we definitely have a good atmosphere and good people working there, yeah.
No further comments or questions. All in favor? Carried. And that would take us to delegations and hearings, bringing us to public hearing for bylaw number 2314-24, conditional use number CU 2024-01 and CU 2024-002, and variance number VA 2024-002. Jody.
Okay, so this is a combined public hearing. And the Planning Act allows us to do this since this is all part of the same development. So that makes it a little bit easier on our part to do that. So I'll just give a little bit of an overview of each of the applications.
Please.
The first one is for the zoning, the amendment to the zoning bylaw. We've already had first reading on that one. So today is the public hearing and then all going well, second and third reading. And this is to take that proposed area, it's mapped out there, and change it from DR, which is Development Reserve, to R2 Residential Medium Density. So on this particular notice, we have not had any objections submitted to our office. The next one is conditional use application CU 2024-001. And for the remaining of these, the applicant and owners are the same. Applicant is 10091128 Manitoba Limited. Owner is B&E Weeb Holdings. The location is what will be 1075 Park Street. To just explain it in plain language, it's the space just to the north of New Leaf Greenhouse along Park Street, and then south of Northlands Parkway. So on this conditional use, it's in order to construct multi-unit dwellings on one lot, so in this case 3, and that is a planned unit development, and a planned unit development is a conditional use in the R2 zone. CU 2024-002 is very much the same as mentioned, same location, applicant and owner, and here the request is to construct 4 18-unit residential dwellings, again, on one lot, which is a planned unit development, which requires the conditional use. And then finally, we have the variance application VA 2024-002. Everything else the same. The variance requested here is to increase the maximum density allowed from 20 dwelling units per acre to 25 dwelling units per acre. And that is again to construct those multi-unit dwellings. You have a report to council there that covers all of these applications. And like the zoning, we've not received any objections to these other applications. And our staff recommendation is to approve these with the conditions that are listed in the report. That report has been shared with the proponent, and I think have addressed all the questions.
Thank you very much, Jody. I see the proponent is here. Do you have any comments to add at this point? Okay, Len has stated, it's suggested that prepared to answer questions if there are. Is there anybody else here wishing to speak to it? I see nobody else in chambers looking to speak to it. Does council have any questions?
This density change, that's all fine on our sewer part?
Scott, you wanna grab that?
Thank you for grabbing the microphone, Scott.
Scott Taves, Director of Planning and Infrastructure. So there's two sites. Essentially, the density is required because one site is under the 20, but the second site is over, and so it is slightly over the 20 dwelling units as a whole. But the second site needed the variance because the zoning is 20 dwelling units an acre, and we wanted to provide a clear approval for the overall development and that specific site. Our secondary plan indicated that this area would be medium density, which had about 20 dwelling units an acre designated for it as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Further questions?
When I look at the long list on the report to council, it shows me that our people have spent an awful lot of time together with the proponent to work this thing out. A lot of, look, it's a complicated deal, so I want to express my appreciation for your confidence in building in the city, and also for our staff for working together to make things work. As I kept paging and paging down, and there's more and more information, and so it's nice to see so much of it was green already and supported, so it's really good.
Thank you, Marvin. Not seeing further questions before we close the hearing, I'll ask the proponent. The conditions have been shared with you, and you are comfortable with those conditions, and will be able to satisfy them to the city's satisfaction. Okay? Not seeing anything further, I'll ask that we be it resolved that the public hearing for bylaw number 231424, conditional use number CU 2024-01 and CU 2024-002, variance number VA 2024-002 be closed. Mover.
Andrew?
Second.
Peter?
Any comments? All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that bylaw 2314-24 be given second reading. Mover.
John Friesen.
Second.
Don Fair?
Comments? All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that bylaw 2314-24 be given third reading, subject to a development agreement, cross-access easement agreement, stormwater cross-servicing agreement, minor and major variance approval, and conditional use approval. Terms and conditions of the development agreement will be in accordance with the city's report to council. Mover.
Peter?
Peter, second.
Marvin?
Final thoughts? All in favor?
Makes sense to have all those in there, yep.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Sorry that I rushed you there, Andrew.
Don't worry.
Be it resolved that council approve conditional use number CU 2024-001, subject to a development agreement, cross-access easement agreement, stormwater cross-servicing agreement, and minor and major variance approval. Terms and conditions of the development agreement will be in accordance with the city's report to council. Mover.
Don Fair?
Second.
Peter?
Peter.
Hey?
Snooze, you lose.
Had your chance.
Comments? All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that council approve conditional use number CU 2024-002, subject to a development agreement, cross-access easement agreement, stormwater cross-servicing agreement, and minor and major variance approval. Terms and conditions of the development agreement will be in accordance with the city's report to council. Mover.
John Grayson.
Don got it. Second was
Marvin.
Marvin. Comments, questions? All in favor? And one final time, be it resolved that council approve variance number VA 2024-002, subject to a development agreement, cross-access easement agreement, stormwater cross-servicing agreement, minor variance approval, and conditional use approval. Terms and conditions of that development agreement will be in accordance with the city's report to council. Mover?
Don Fair.
Second.
Peter.
Final thoughts? All in favor? And that is carried. That was a mouthful. That takes us to the end of our meeting. Questions from media or public relevant to this meeting of council? I see nobody in chambers. We've got nobody online. We'll move to adjournment. Be it resolved that this regular meeting of council be adjourned. Mover.
Andrew?
Second.
Don Fair.
Don Fair. Almost, you guys didn't get out of here. Thank you for stepping up, Don.
I know.
All in favor?